Good day, everyone. You join us here again for another weekly preview. Myself and Paul Kelly from ESBR Boxing. The phrase or the greeting "Good day" will become apparent given some of the locations that we're going to for this week's preview. Three fights we're going to bring you. We're going UK, we're going Australia, but we're going to start. I'm not going to give any names away because I'm going to come straight to you, Paul Kelly, first. I'm going to ask you how you're doing, but you can tell us how you're doing as well as introduce the first fight, which is in the UK, which is in the Northwest. I don't want to give names away. Paul Kelly, take it away.
Yeah, thanks, Elliot. Good to be back doing another video. I'm all good. I'm looking forward to another weekend of top quality boxing, both in the UK and, as you said, elsewhere in the world. And we may as well get straight into it. First fight, one of the biggest names in UK boxing, I think, in Callum Smith is back in action this weekend in his hometown of Liverpool. He's fighting the undefeated Polish fighter, Pawel Stepien. Now, a quick tale of the tape, as we always do. Callum Smith, 29-1 with 21 KOs, 32 years old, orthodox fighter. He's tall, he's 6'3" with a 78-inch reach. This is his third fight, I believe, up at light heavyweight. And in the opposite corner, he's facing Stepien, who's 18-0-1. He himself has a decent KO percentage with 12 knockouts. He's the same age at 32, orthodox fighter as well, a little bit smaller at 6'2" and has a 75-inch reach. So yeah, as I mentioned, this is going to be Smith's third fight up at light heavyweight. First two have been impressive knockouts within, the first 4 rounds or so, up at 175. Hasn't fought since the Joshua Usyk 2 card in August in Saudi. But yeah, no, interesting for me is Stepien has never fought outside of Poland. Um, he hasn't ever had a 12-round fight. Maximum has been 10 rounds. So for me, it's a bit of a padded record. I'll give you my prediction just after I come to you of how I think this fight will go. But yeah, Elliot, take it away. Do you think this is a competitive fight? Do you think it's a routine victory for Smith? How do you see this one going?
Paul, the fact that you're saying it's a padded record and you're concerned for Smith's opponent to me means that Smith might as well be fighting a child. I think, I do. Look, I like Callum Smith. I like Callum Smith up at light heavy, and I think there's a lot of frustration really around this fight. Is because we really want to see Callum Smith, frankly, in better fights than this, for his talent. And I just feel like it's going to be another Callum Smith KO. Frankly, I know they're talking obviously about stepping into a world title shot next potentially. So maybe this is a bit of a stepping stone, or just a tick over fight. Which in a way, yeah, fine. But in another way, it's like I don't really want to keep seeing Callum Smith in kind of the next one where we're building for the next one constantly. I want to sort of see him actually in the fight. So for me, yes, it's a bit disappointing. However, if he comes through this as I fully expect him to come through this with a stoppage, and we get him, in a world title fight against either the champions next, I'll be happy with that, frankly.
Yeah, me too, absolutely. Don't think there's really much more we can say about it. I completely concur. I think Smith, in my opinion, should win this fight within 4 rounds, probably. Just the way he's been punching up at light heavyweight, his power has definitely converted from super middleweight. I think that Stepien, yeah, on paper he's undefeated, but for me, just having a more of a deep dive into his resume, I don't think he'll cause Callum Smith too many problems here, at all.
No,
Second fight, as
I'll
I
take.
don't think there's much more to say on that main event, really.
No, stoppage early. Totally
Yeah,
agree.
stoppage early. I think we'll maybe come back to that card for our third fight. But for now, I'll hand back over to you, Elliot, to take us through our second fight. And as you say, the theme of today's video, good day. Why is that?
Yeah, good day, lads. Good day. We're going over to. We are off in Sydney Olympic Park for a fight which is taking place this weekend, as Paul's described. We've got Tszyu, son of Costa, fighting Tony Harrison. As Paul did for the first one, we like to give a little bit of the tail of the tape as well. So we'll just go through the records and the physical stats of each guy, and a bit about the records as well. So yeah, 21-0 Tszyu with 15 KOs, 5'8.5" with a 72-inch reach. Obviously, as I said, he's completely undefeated. He's fought some guys, I suppose, that that got decent in his records. Obviously, he's beaten Jeff Horn. That was a good sort of standout victory. He's come through, recently, obviously with TKO victories and UD victories. His recent fight was against Terrell Grasher, who is 22-2-1 record. So not bad, not bad really for Tim Tszyu. He's been a kind of a guy that's been on the radar for some time now, and I think people have been sort of calling for these sort of bigger fights. Obviously, people have mentioned the champions in the division, Charlo. Obviously, also talking about maybe Fundora or Castano. But this is a good fight actually for Tim Tszyu. Tony Harrison comes into it with a record of 29-3-1. He's 32 years old, 6'1", with a 76.5-inch reach. So physically taller man, more experience with more fights. Obviously slightly older. He's obviously coming into this fight with actually a credible victory, UD victory over Sergio Garcia. That was back in April. He's also fought Jamel Charlo. Obviously had a UD victory over Jamel Charlo, which was then avenged in a KO loss. That was back in 2019. But yeah, he's also been in there with the likes of sort of Jared Hurt and Pacheco. So this is a good fight for Tim Tszyu, frankly, CV wise and record wise. Paul, I'm going to come to you, and I'm going to say Charlo's got a fairly it's a high KO percentage, considering he's sort of 75% KO percentage, but against fighters that may not necessarily be of the value or of the experience of his opponent at the weekend. Do you see this fight going the distance? Who do you see winning? And how do you see them winning?
Yeah, thanks for that astute breakdown, Elliot. I think it's interesting. To answer your first question, do I think it's going to go the distance? I actually am edging towards yes in that. I know both men have, a lot of knockouts. They've got 36 KOs between them, in their respective wins, and that makes me think that this fight they'll both be cautious and wary of each other's power. I mean, as you mentioned there, Harrison's got all of the experience kind of on his side in this fight. He's former WBC world champion, beating Charlo. Obviously, got beat in the rematch, as you alluded to. He's been stopped by Jared Hurd as well, and earlier on in his career against Willie Nelson. But he obviously has some good wins. Obviously, that Charlo win's sensational. The Rabchenko win's good. And the one you mentioned last time out against Sergio Garcia is also a credible victory for Tony Harrison. Tszyu, on the other hand, probably hasn't fought the level of opponent. But if you look at his resume, he does have those wins, as you mentioned, over Jeff Horn. Dennis Hogan's a good victory. Steve Spark, Takeshi Inoue as well. And then that last time out against Gausha, he did win, but it was a close enough fight. I think he just did enough. Tricky to pick a winner for me. I think you have the edge towards Tim Tszyu because of where it is, and just kind of the whole hype around him in Australia. For me, it's a really interesting fight. I'm not 100% sure. I was looking at the betting odds before, and Tim Tszyu's 2-5 to win, with Tony Harrison's better than 2-1 actually. So I think there probably could be some value there on Harrison, and I think there probably will be people backing him to win this one. But it's a really good fight for me. Obviously, it's just the WBO interim world super welterweight title on the line. Charlo holds all those belts. The winner here, I think, you could see a world where the winner fights Charlo, because it makes sense both ways. Tim Tszyu's never fought Charlo. Tony Harrison, Charlo's one apiece, so they could have a trilogy fight to see who wins that once and for all. But yeah, I think it's a really good fight. What I'm interested in, but I do think it probably will go late, if not go the full distance, just with each fighter being wary of each other's power.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. Actually, I think this could well go the distance as well. I'll probably lean towards Tim Tszyu, but I don't know whether that's the kind of romanticism of having watched his dad boxing as well. I mean, like you said, these guys both ranked highly. I think ranked 3 and 4 in the ring rankings in the division behind obviously Charlo, obviously at the top, and then Castano and Fundora. So a great fight, great matchup, and yeah, I think it's the fight that like you said, we've looked to see for Tim Tszyu for some time. And with Harrison, obviously, has been in with credible opponents, so this is a live and credible fight. I'm gonna pass back though to you, Paul, for a fight that's taking place in Liverpool, as you've already said, and I believe includes a fighter who you guys want to nickname Little Lever's Meat Cleaver. So we're gonna pass back over to you now, Paul.
Yeah, thanks, Elliot. As you mentioned, the single best nickname in boxing, bar none, Little Lever Meat Cleaver. Obviously, Jack Cullen, we're talking about. He's fighting Diego Pacheco in a really decent enough fight. It's one that kind of caught the eye on the undercard here at the Echo Arena in Liverpool. Obviously, it's super middleweight. This fight is. We'll go through the tail of the tape again, as we always do. 17-0 Pacheco is with 14 KOs. He's only 21 years old. He's one of the biggest prospects in America. I think if you can still call him a prospect, considering he's had 21 fights. Sorry, 17 fights, but he is only 21 years of age. 6'4", so he's massive for the weight, and a 79-inch reach too. On the other hand, Cullen is 21, 3-1. He's got 9 KOs. He's an orthodox fighter, a little bit older, but still, probably in his prime at about 20, 29 years old. He's 6'3", so he's a big man as well, and he's from Bolton. So, just the way I'm looking at this, Pacheco has had a few decent wins, but he looks like a real prospect. He hasn't been in there with anyone you would say is European world level, but he's making his way right to the very top, and he's passing every test he's had with flying colours. Obviously, a massive KO percentage as well. But then you look at Jack Cullen, and I know Yildirim in recent years hasn't been brilliant, but Jack Cullen beat him. That's a Yildirim that's fought for world titles before in the past. Even fought Canelo, obviously. He has a draw with Zach Chelly as well, who we've just seen convincingly beat Anthony Sims Jr. recently. However, I fear for Jack Cullen and slightly, as all three of his defeats have come by stoppage. Obviously, he's been stopped by all three of the men that have beaten him. So, is there frailties there to the chin? But he is a hard man. I think he'll come to fight. He'll come to win. But for me, this is another victory for Diego Pacheco. Betting wise, he's 1-20 to win this fight. Could there be value? I'm calling it 10-1. So I'm going to throw it back to you, Elliot, and say, if you were a betting man and those 10-1 odds sprung out to you for Jack Cullen win, are you taking it at all, or are you right on the Diego Pacheco hype train and backing him by a stoppage?
No, mate, you took the words right out of my mouth actually when you said I fear for Jack Cullen, and I do fear for Jack Cullen in this fight. Frankly, I mean 10-1. I'm not putting a lot on it. Put it that way. If I was going that way, I know. I to be honest with you, mate, I totally agree with what you were saying. I kind of like young man, 14 KOs, 17 fights, 21 years old, very big at the weight as well. I think he stops Cullen here. Frankly, I don't get me wrong. I think that Yildirim victory, credible victory from Cullen, but like you say, he's been stopped before from guys that haven't got such a KO percentage. I mean, Felix Cash stopped him, didn't he, as well? Haven't got the sort of the stoppage percentage that Pacheco has. And I just think this is going to be a travelling win. One other one. I kind of announce the kind of audience victory on the undercard here. So I think, I'm going to go Pacheco, mate, KO. And I just feel like, I mean, will it be early? Will it be late? I mean, looking through the kind of, like you say, he's not necessarily fought guys that are known, but he's fought guys with winning records and has been stopping them. So I think usually somewhere around the middle of the fight, so like around 6 to 8. So I think maybe Cullen could go second half, but I think he'll get stopped.
Yeah, I mean, I think that makes it 3 out of 3 this week. I'm agreeing with you there. I think Pacheco will win the fight. Maybe a little bit earlier than you mentioned. I think maybe around rounds 5 or 6, even maybe round 4 to 6, something like that. But yeah, I mean, it's a decent enough fight. Fair play to Jack Cullen for taking it. You never know. I know he's not obviously from Liverpool, but I'd say the crowd will be pro Cullen in that fight. So that could help him. But yeah, don't really think there's much more to say, Elliot. We've gone through those 3 fights. We've agreed in each one, and I'll hand it back over to you to wrap us up.
No, thank you, guys. So yeah, as Paul says there, we're 3 for 3. We're 100%, and as is the content on ESBR Boxing, is 100% this week. We've got, as we always have, we've got, interview features, breakdowns, deep dives of fights that are coming up across various events. So check out those on the channel. Thank you very much for joining myself and Paul for another weekly preview. And I suppose all that's left to be said is thank you for watching. We go again next week. And Paul, thank you very much for your time.
Yes, cheers, Elliot. As you said, we'll go again next week. Looking forward to it. All the best.